Hey everybody, today we have Sammy G, Samuraiguitarist, as a guest on the podcast. We talk about his family life, the solo album he's working on right now, and that AI rapper that got dropped from the label a couple weeks ago, and just what the nature of AI in music is, and we get very existential towards the end. Be sure to like the podcast and subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Let's get into it. You told me that you just got your ass kicked by COVID. How wonderful was that?
Well, there's a couple side notes of this whole experience. Like, I suspect that I had COVID, another respiratory illness. The reason, and this was like, I don't know, when did this happen? This was like early August. My son went to Playzone, and those places are just like germ fests. And he came back, and like a couple days later, started feeling sick. And then a couple days after that, everyone started feeling sick. And I knew as soon as he was sick, like, I'm getting this because he's 2 years old, 2.5, I guess, maybe not quite that old, but he's like never been sick before. And so he needed a lot of comforting, and like he wasn't sleeping well. So I was just like sleeping in the same bed as him. And I would wake up with him like literally coughing down my throat. So I'm like, I'm getting a massive viral load here. And so then I ended up getting sick, and Jenny got sick. Our newest, like the youngest baby got sick. The newborn got sick. But the thing is, my mom came over, she helped us out, and she was just an absolute hero in the whole process. And she had COVID back in May.
Moms are the fucking best, dude. Moms are so good.
Saved us. She had COVID back in May, and she's like, okay, I don't think this will be a big deal because I probably still have antibodies. But she ended up getting like some symptoms, but never tested positive once, whereas the rest of us were like very, very clearly like testing positive. And so the theory is that there were two things going on, COVID plus another respiratory thing, because like the 2-year-old was sick for like 14 days, fever for 12 days, like just miserable.
And as far as I remember, it's uncommon for very young people to have COVID, like super uncommon. Yeah. So that's very crazy.
That's why we think like, hey, there's something else going on here too. And I had some symptomatic things that were like not related to COVID or very uncommon with COVID. And so we're like, okay, there's probably two things going on, fighting two viruses. This is by no means just like a cold. In the grand scheme of things, I would say like it's not like I wouldn't remember this illness as like something where I was like, I'm on the verge of death. But in the short term scheme, it's like the sickest I've been for a while. But what made it so tough was the fact that like dealing with a 2-year-old who's going through like emotions and a lot of changes, who just got a new brother 2 weeks before, him getting sick for 14 days and basically being devoid of happiness and not sleeping and not eating and having a horrible cough. Like that was the most challenging thing. If it was just me by myself sick, wouldn't have been that big of a deal. If I still could have lived my life. But dealing with the 2-year-old and then also trying to keep the newborn like safe and separate, because like he didn't have any symptoms, so like we were wearing N95s around him and trying to keep him away, and he's like 2 weeks old at this point. It was dramatic. Top 10 worst experiences of my life. If my mom wasn't around to help, it would have been top 5 worst experiences of my life.
Shit, man. All that, and you also have to be a musician at the same time.
Yeah, I'm still making videos. So as soon as the 2-year-old tested positive, I was like, okay, there's a good chance I'm losing my voice or like being laid out. So that night I went and shot a video and just like got ahead of it. And so then, yeah, sure enough, like I lost my voice completely. Also, I got kicked right in the esophagus. Like one day I woke up and he was like very upset and he was just like flailing. And I just got booted right in the esophagus. And so my voice was like completely gone. It's still not quite back to normal. It was so bad though. Like it was awful.
Dude, I couldn't even imagine. I had COVID at the beginning of this year, and it really sucked horribly bad. Like, there were a few moments where I thought I might have to go to the hospital. But I like having to deal with that, and then kids, and then work. Like, I just had to take off 2 weeks. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was barely functional. I couldn't
Did you
walk
have that, like,
very
sticky,
far.
It was like the sticky mucus deep in your lungs that just like wouldn't come out. Like that. Yeah. And I was like coughing so much, like my whole body was just like tired from trying to like get this out. Yeah. Honestly, the toughest thing was just dealing with a 2-year-old. And he would get in these like these moods, and like he honestly just didn't have any happiness for 2 weeks basically, which is so hard to see. And I couldn't taste anything, and so like couldn't eat my problems away. It was just like 2 weeks devoid of joy. And then when the light started to come back into my kids' eyes and we would go outside and he'd be happy again, like it was just so nice to see that. I was like, I will never take being healthy for granted again. But it's been a couple weeks and I totally take being healthy for granted again.
I mean, don't we all? So you just had your second son. That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
He was born on the 17th of July. Man, that was a thing too, because I got hand, foot, and mouth like right around that time. Hand, foot, and mouth disease. People who aren't parents don't tend to know a lot about this because it really mostly only affects kids. But basically, get a fever and then you get sores on your hands, sores on your feet, sores in your mouth. And it's super, super common. Basically, every kid, especially if they've ever been to daycare, gets it. And so it's not a big deal, but it can be a big deal for newborns because it can like affect like their brains and their development. Like you really just want newborns not to get it. And so like the one hangout we did with another kid before the due date, sure enough, day after, my buddy texted me, he's like, I hate to tell you this, but we got hand, foot, and mouth. I'm like, oh no. Sure enough, a couple days later, my 2-year-old, he gets fever and then he gets these sores on his feet. I'm like, oh no. Because we're like getting close to the due date here and it's quite contagious. So you don't want the newborn to get it. And it's also not like you have a date. Like the due date is a very rough interpretation of when it's going to happen. So it's not like you're like, okay, this is the date, we'll plan around it. We're like, we don't know what we're going to do or how to keep our 2-year-old separate. Like, what are we going to do about this? So he's not going to wear a mask. We don't want his first impressions of this new baby is him being separated from him. So what we did was we planned with Jenny's parents and my parents. As soon as baby came along, 2-year-old would go and stay with Jenny's parents, and then if my parents, they were going out to the lake, if they were still at the lake, he would go down to the lake with them. And that's exactly what we did until the point where he wasn't contagious. But what threw it all for a loop was, like I said, adults usually don't get this, but I got it. And this was after the due date. And so baby's coming at any point. And I remember like just waking up and just not feeling good. And over the course of the day, I felt worse and worse and worse. I got a fever. It to me felt like how I felt after my second COVID shot. I just felt bad, like really bad. I was like, I don't know what's happening. It's probably hand, foot, and mouth, but I know I had it as a kid, so it's unlikely that I got it. I'm like, do I have COVID right now? And I did a test and didn't test positive. But the thing is, if you have COVID, like you can't go into the delivery room here, at least. Like they're not letting you in if you have a fever. And also at the same time, it's like I was just not in any shape to do anything. And so I was like pretty upset about this. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like if Jenny went into labor that night, I was like, I don't know what that looks like. We might have to get like your mom or someone to go into the hospital with you because I don't think I can do it. I don't think they'll let me in. Obviously super upsetting. So ended up going to sleep and feeling a bit better the next day. And then the next day I felt mostly back to normal. I just had a sore throat and like those lesions in my throat. And then, so 2 days after I started getting symptomatic, Jenny goes into labor and I was at the point where I could like mostly function. But then I had to wear a mask around the baby for the first 2 weeks of his life because I didn't want him getting hand, foot, and mouth.
And that's great for their development.
1 week of happiness. It's likely fine, but like it can get swelling in their brain and stuff, and so you just don't want it.
I meant just not seeing the face, not seeing the face. But it's like it's 2 weeks. It's not the biggest deal.
It's 2 weeks. It's not the end of the world. It was more just annoying for us. And like I was like in the hospital, like I was wearing the mask, going and washing like my hands because I think it's mostly like in droplets and not so much in the air. But it's just like frustrating thing to deal with when you're exhausted and you have this new baby and you got to remember this stuff. And so then, 2 weeks.
And you say goodbye to your sleeping schedule. Absolutely gone while you're sick with symptoms because of the new baby.
Well, honestly, like the new baby was easy. The first week when the 2-year-old was out of the cabin, it was easy. Way easier than the first time around. He's waking up every 2 hours to eat, but like I'm not doing anything. I'm not feeding him. I'm just sitting there for support. And we had been dealing with a sleep regression with the 2-year-old before that. So sending him off to the cabin was just like our lives got easier. It's different with the firstborn. because it's a massive change to your life. You're going from not being a parent to being a parent, and you're freaked out, and everything's now changing. Whereas going from a 2-year-old to dealing with a newborn, it's easy. At least for us, it was. And it's also worth noting that what often makes it so hard, at least the first time around, is that just like the food supply and the milk supply. If the body's never gone through that, it's tougher than if you've done it once, and it's all a lot easier the second time. And so since it's been a lot easier the second time, like all the hard things with our first kid haven't really related to the second. The hard things with the second is the fact that I've been sick for more than half of his life.
How did things change for you as far as becoming a parent? I don't just mean like the day-to-day shit. I mean like how you see the world.
Well, I know it has changed a lot, but I think it's weird because it's not one of those things you think it's just going to be instantly. You have this kid and you're a different person, but it's not like that. It's a slow, gradual change. Then you look at who you are and what you cared about and your priorities and the way you spend your time 3 years ago versus now is very, very different. But it's also like, I remind myself that when we became parents was also the time where the world became very different. Like that's right when COVID hit, April of 2020. Was when we became parents. So like a lot changed at that time. And it's hard to kind of sort out, okay, well, what is causing these differences for me? But it's like the free time becomes much more valuable and you spend it differently. Like I haven't played video games for the most part by myself for 3 years. And I bought games thinking I'm going to play them. I just don't have time to do it. And so Jenny and I will play games together because like, that rare time that we have to spend some time doing something, like I don't want to just like go sit in a room and she goes and sits in a room and we do something else. Whereas like we'll play a game together. So we've been like playing Hollow Knight lately and just handing off the controller.
Oh yeah, dude, Hollow Knight's great.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
It's fucking massive, dude. And the lore is crazy too if you dive into that at all. But yeah,
we've been playing it for a long time and. Yeah, it's been really fun, but and then just like thinking about I guess like planning your life. Like basically when I'm not working, we're just trying to make life as good and healthy and productive for the children as possible. And like Jenny takes on more than I do because I do try to spend at least 6 to 8 hours working every day. Where she's just like doing full-time mom stuff now, but just like trying to. That's beautiful. Think about that. Takes a lot of effort, and you don't really realize, I think, how much effort goes into that, and how much like a lot of these things there's not a playbook, and then when things go awry and you're just winging it, not knowing what to do, like how much that can be a big thing in your life, like dealing with like a sleep regression where suddenly one of the kids isn't sleeping well, like that throws your life completely out of whack. And then just trying to even do a thing just takes a lot more time. Like if we want to go out for dinner, we got to get babysitters over. And then we also have to plan like meals for both kids. And we haven't done it since the second kid's been born, but he's like needing breast milk. And so we got to figure out, like make sure like that's available. It's just a lot harder.
What is music to you? What does it mean to you? What's its importance?
Well, it's a hard question to answer because like
it's a very complicated question. I agree.
There's levels to it, right? So like deep down, if I were to try to strip away everything, just get to the root of what it is, it's just like it's the ability to like feel something through an artistic medium, and also the fact that I can express myself through that thing is like a hugely important thing deep down. But like when you're doing music related stuff every day, you kind of lose sight of that, I think. And so for me, when I think about, okay, well, what am I doing musically today? It's like, it's a means to like, it's my job. It's very, very much my job.
When you spend every day working in the sausage factory, you start not to care about sausage, that type of thing.
But if you were to just like take the sausages completely out of your life, you might start realizing how much you enjoy eating them a couple days later or something.
True.
So
yeah.
That's what it's like. Like, it's very different than it used to be. Like when I was like a teenager, like every second of the day that I wasn't doing schoolwork is like I was listening to music and just like excited about it. Like I don't feel a ton of excitement towards it in the same way, like that same like in your face, right at the front of your brain excitement towards it.
Yes.
It's more like when it happens, it's deeper, but it's not like it happens that often and it happens in a different way. Like if I create something that I really am proud of, like I'll listen to that over and over again and feel like a deep sense of reward and be like, yeah, I did that. And I'm really proud of that. Versus just like listening to like AC/DC and be like, yes, I love this. Like that thing is kind of not really existing.
I'm happy that died for you. So that's good. we don't need more love of AC/DC in the world.
Well, I said AC/DC because I'm looking over here and there's literally an AC/DC record on my desk.
Yeah. Okay, that's super cool. I'll give you that. That's really cool to have a proper vinyl of it.
But it's just, yeah, it's different. Like it's my job now, and like there's times where I just like I want to not do this, and I want to just work a very simple job of 9 to 5 where someone tells me what to do and it's easy. I know I would never be happy doing that, but it's not like if I were to imagine how I would feel, like if I was 15 trying to imagine how I would feel right now, it's not how I feel. It's not just like this feeling of just like happiness and joy every day. Like I'm living a dream. Yes. It's 10 years or 8 years into this. It's become a job that is like the most rewarding job that I could ever do. And offers like the best things in my life, but like
considering it's still a job. Yeah. Considering it's still a job.
Yeah. And it has its ups, it has its downs. There's some really hard things.
I find it like daily terrifying, you know, like really think about it for a second. We are doing what most people never get to do because most people's experiences are going to be waking up at a certain time, to clock in at a certain time, work for a specific amount of time, then clock out when that specific time is done, and then have the rest of their day to make their own decisions. Mm-hmm. You know, like to an extent, some of their decisions are already made for them. And now I'm in a circumstance where I'm like, holy shit, I have to make all of the decisions, every single fucking one of them. And
some of them are really hard to make.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And like, I would say it's definitely more rewarding, and I don't think I would want to do it any other way. But at the same time, dude, if you really like take the time to realize like, oh, I technically haven't gone to work in like 5 years, right? You know, like I quit my job 5 years ago. Like some people could interpret that as you're just being a fucking bum, a professional bum, because you're not working a real job, you know? But obviously there's a lot of hard work that goes into this. I'm not downplaying that whatsoever.
It's the hardest job I've ever done by far.
Hands down. Especially for me, I am both an extrovert and I am diagnosed with a mild amount of ADHD. So my executive function doesn't work great. That's the one that's responsible for being organized and self-directed, you know? And at the same time, I love being around people and I feed off of people. And I'm working from my house most of the day, every fucking day. I don't usually take days off, you know? So, I mean, I don't usually work 8-hour days either. So keeping that in mind. But like I normally do some type of work every single day, you know?
Oh, yeah. And even if you're not working, you're living in that gray area of being like, just thinking about it. You never detach. Like, what I would love in my life right now, what I need a long break. Like, I would like to take 6 months off. I don't think it's feasible.
Holy shit. You don't need 6 months. You don't need 6 months. I promise.
I could use 6 months. I'm 8 years into this and like running on pretty low fumes. I would love to take 6 months off, but I don't want to take 6 months off work. I want to not do like YouTube for 6 months.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I tell Jenny this. I'm like, you know, the last thing I want to do is do nothing. Doing nothing drives me crazy. And even if I'm like not feeling the YouTube thing or whatever, to me, like I'm still moving in a direction that's still a lot better, no matter what, than just doing nothing. So what I would love is just to have a project fall into my lap that I know doesn't have to be like paying a massive amount, but something that's going to be heard by people that I don't have to make every single decision about. I can get a little creative in areas, but something that's just like someone just does this and says, here's our thing. You're not driving the boat anymore. We just need you as a worker to do that thing you do well. Do that for a while. And that could be a number of different things. Like going on tour with a successful artist would be a ton of fun. I don't think
you could totally fucking do that. I guarantee with your following, there would be people who would take you on for a tour. I guarantee it. Well,
I mean, right now with like young kids, it's just not really feasible to do like 6 months. But like I'm on Instagram a lot, and I see like Mateus playing with like Bruno Mars, or Sophie Lloyd playing with like Machine Gun Kelly, and like
Machine Gun Kelly's not my favorite artist by any means.
Don't get
me started on that.
It'd be, man, if he came up to me and was like, hey, I want you to come and play arenas and stadiums, like, I don't have that much of an emotion towards any type of music to say no to that.
I would say no to him.
I would do it in a second. I
would absolutely say no to him. I would laugh at him and tell him to go find someone else, and it's fine. Yeah, they can take it. I don't care.
But see, this is where we're different, I think, in the sense that like I am not the music snob. I'm the opposite of that. Like, I'm good with like most things. If it sounds like, if I can like play some guitar parts that are like not even exciting, just like easy enough that I'm not going to struggle with and stress out over every night. If I can just like play open chords and like some power chords in like a big arena, like I've never done that before. Like I would do that in a heartbeat, assuming that I didn't have the kid thing.
I'm not shitting on that. I specifically with Machine Gun Kelly, I would have some ethical questions I would have to ask myself. That's all. So
I'll also say I've never heard a song of his. The only things I've ever heard from him are Sophie's clips. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. It looks like fun. But there'd be very, very few artists at that level that I would say no to. I might even go as far to say there aren't any.
If for some reason I got asked by Beyonce, which it wouldn't happen, but if for some reason that offer was on the table for me, like, yeah, fuck it, I'd 90% sure I'd take it, you know?
No kids, I 100% would. I don't want to be away from the family for 6 months right now. That's not, no. But like that kind of thing, like maybe in a couple of years, even if it was like a month, I could probably pull off a month. Like that would be just a thing where it's like, I'm doing something and it's just different. Like I've done things under the same umbrella.
I'm going to censor myself when I say this, so it's still a secret. Would you want to take a portion of that 6 months and help me?
What does that look like? Like, what do you mean?
Oh, you haven't? I didn't send you pictures?
No, I know that, but what do you mean me building it? Like, I can't build anything.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Like, you're talking. I have a friend who is, and his dad is like quite a successul real estate agent.
For anyone who's listening, it's a secret guitar. That's all I'll say. It's a secret guitar.
The secret guitar. I remember one time I went to his basement. Like I was looking for some tools. I'm like, Wayne, where's your toolbox? He's like, I only got one tool, and it's my checkbook. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's interesting.
He sounds like a Lannister.
I haven't gone that far by any means. Like, I can still do things, but generally speaking, like, I'm not the guy to do handy stuff. If I need to, I will. I don't get a lot of joy out of it. I'm going to have to do some stuff coming up soon on the house, but my default option is like, there's some things that I'm quite good at and that pay me pretty well. If I can spend more time doing those things that I enjoy more than fixing whatever, I'm just going to pay somebody to do it.
If I had the luthier knowledge, that thing would be done already. The only reason why it's not done, because like I know the rest of what needs to be done with it, and it can be done. It's just that my luthier I was using was at the local guitar shop, and the local guitar shop shut down because he was the only person keeping that place open. And he wound up taking a job at Gibson. He heads their finishing department. Oh,
your buddy. He mentioned to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm not the guy to help you with anything like that.
Damn.
And the reason why I've been able to live a life like this is because my dad is so incredibly handy. So like my whole life, toy breaks, take it to dad. I want a new guitar thing.
Does your dad want to help me build this?
I can ask him. He's got a lot of projects on the go right now.
Does he know anything about like luthier specifications? No. Okay, then no. Yeah, it's not even worth it. Then.
Yeah, he's very much like if he can look it up a schematic or something, like very much the electronic side, I think is what interests him. But he does some woodworking stuff. I would show you my amps over here that he built, but they might disconnect
I saw the video you did on that one. That was fucking incredible. Like if I ever do get like Dovidas level opulence, I'll hire your dad to build me a fucking crazy ass amp. That'd be so cool. Be super.
I was talking to him the other day about building amps for people. And he's like, his whole thing was, I was like, you could just like sell them on like Etsy or something, probably get like decent money for them. But he's like,
he could sell them on Reverb.
So
Reverb
here's his thing is like, as soon as you start selling an amp, especially like if it's a bit of a higher price thing, first of all, like there's safety certifications I'm pretty sure you need to do. So if someone like electrocutes himself, like you got to be careful about that. But the second thing is like, you can't just like sell this amp and be done with it forever. They're going to want to, if there's something that they don't like, you're going to have to like be involved in that process. And he's just like, he just doesn't want to deal with any of that. So if there's like a friend or something of mine who wants an amp, he's like into doing that, but like doing something that's actually building for other people, not a lot of interest. But also like he just like doing other projects. So right now, he is actually building 2 amps right now, but after that, like he's doing Japanese lanterns because he just doesn't want to only be doing lamps. And then after that, I think he
Japanese
might be doing
lanterns. I'm gonna look up what these look like.
They're pretty cool.
Now I'm very curious. Okay.
I'll
put some pictures up on screen.
Like it's just do this one, do this project, maybe circle back to this project, and that's kind of what his. He's like, he's retired now, so he's just doing things that are fun.
Okay, yeah, these are pretty intricate. They look like they can get pretty crazy. I'm not sure how to describe the different styles. I'll throw up a couple varieties on screen here, but yeah, these look really fucking cool, man. Really cool. Are they going to be fire based or electricity based?
No, they're electricity based. So he's building 2 for my sister.
Word.
He's built 2 for himself, and he's going to do 2 for us.
If I'm that fucking opulent that I'm going to order some crazy ass boutique stylish thing from your dad, at that point, I'll be like, okay, if there's an issue, I'll just take it to an amp shop and tell them to be very fucking careful. You know?
Yeah, like he would probably do one for a buddy of mine, but I think he's only ever done one for someone else. It's not me. Because he's probably just like sick of dealing with my issues with him. Like, hey, Dad, can you fix this? Can you fix this? He's like, I don't want to do this for anyone else. I'm committed to you because we're genetically similar, but I don't want to do this for someone who's not my son.
That makes sense. Dude, it would be super cool to do a proper YouTube collab on finishing that secret guitar project, but at the same time,
I can't help you. Like I'm the exact opposite person. I just took my guitars to a shop because I didn't want to fix it myself.
I still take my guitars to my friend to get setups from him because he still has time to squeeze that in. But like he's even been talking about building me a custom like from scratch telly for a while, and like it's still not like it was supposed to be done like months ago. It's like I didn't ask for it. He just wanted to do it, and like I'm not breathing down his neck. He's just handing this thing to me and basically like make a video on it. Like, yeah, like absolutely, thank you. You know, and he's also a friend too. So like, yeah, fucking super fucking cool guy, very talented luthier. But yeah, like with all that, he's actually trying to start his own brand basically. With I sent you the guy that he does a lot of work for, Luther Dickinson. He used to be with the Black Crows.
Yep.
He and Luther are trying to start like a Southern Fried classic telly type of business. Luther is a fucking cool dude too. He likes making instruments basically out of junk, for lack of a better term. Like
I like that idea. I've seen guitars like that.
Oh, hell
license plate and they turn into a guitar.
Yeah, that's Luther's style. He likes taking Southern junk and turning it into music. It's really fucking cool. Mean guitar player too, real mean guitar player. Hopefully I'll get him on as a guest. That would be killer. He has some cool insights. But yeah, so like all that shit that he's trying to fit in, he definitely has no time for almost said it out loud.
The secret
guitar project. Yeah.
And it's hard to get people to get on customized things. I ordered a custom Les Paul from Gibson.
Oh, I remember.
Year and a half ago. No, it's the Les Paul. This isn't the other custom guitar. Year and a half ago. They're like, oh yeah, this one should be pretty quick. I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And then I forgot about it because like months passed and then a year passed and I was like totally off my radar. And then just like a couple weeks ago, like, hey, it's done. No, I hadn't paid for it yet.
Okay. That's good.
And they're like, hey, it's done. Do you still want it? I was like, wait, what's done? Oh yeah, this one. Okay, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll still buy it. I don't have Les Paul. Yeah, and
you got it with you?
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, please.
I don't know if I can stretch that far with all my cables.
Oh yeah, you're good.
So I'd never seen like just a straight up green Les Paul. But there we go.
That's beautiful.
I've never owned a Les Paul, so this is my first one.
That's some straight up fucking Emerald Riders level shit right there.
Oh, you know what? I gotta tell Sean about this.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Sean Daniel, our friend, has a band called the Emerald Riders.
Yeah, I actually do need to send a picture of that to Sean. Yeah, there was a last, I don't know, maybe it was like 2 weeks ago. Like I got like 7 new guitars. It was insane. And it wasn't like on purpose.
Midlife crisis buying, is that what's going on?
No, I ordered 3 guitars from the Fender Mod Shop, which is, I'm a sucker for custom things. Like that's what really excites me.
Hell yeah.
About like things that I've made and it's just like one-off kind of things. And I discovered like the Fender Mod Shop, which has been around forever. And you just go onto their website and mock up a guitar and you can pick up a bunch of different like finishes and like headstock and neck options and stuff like that. And so I discovered that back in January or December and I started making guitars on there and I made one. I was like, this is super cool. I need this. And I was like, what if I made another one with those other things I like? And I was like, this is super cool and I need this. So I ended up making 3 of them. And it was a bit of a process to actually buy them because like first I wanted to get my American credit card with a US dollar credit card. Like you pay in US dollars, stays in US dollars, which isn't actually that easy when you're a Canadian. Because I wanted to like receive like points on like the bigger purchases that I make. And so like it was actually a huge process getting that credit card.
Well, it is your fault because you're Canadian. Just saying. It's completely your
there were
fault.
some major dramas with that. But anyway, I finally got it. And then I tried to like run the transaction to buy these 3 guitars. And then it was like, oh, we only ship to the US. And so I had to like talk to my guy at Fender and we had to like sort something out where like I paid them like over the phone. And then I shipped it like specifically to like some guy at Fender who then sent it to me. And it was just like a bit of an involved thing. And so that took a while to happen. And I was like, I have no idea how long this is going to take. But then they showed up. And then I had reached out to Fender a while back about a certain guitar that I wanted to like try out. And they're like, we'll just send you one. And then they just never did until like a week ago and it finally showed up. I was like, oh yeah, kind of forgot about this one. And then the Les Paul came in. And then that 68 Telly also found its way into my life. And so there's like 6 guitars that I got in like the course of 2 weeks.
Shit. How do I get Fender to send me guitars? I would love to have a beautiful, proper lefty Telly, honestly. Like I have this guy over here. It's a Fender, but it's a Mexican Fender. It's like the most standard of standard, $500, cash. And actually I got it off the shelf for less, or for about 3, because they were just like, dude, this thing's been in here for years. We're trying to close down the store. No one's gonna fucking buy this thing. You want it? Like, fuck yeah, I want it. It's my first Telly ever.
A lot of the big guitar companies, I don't know, I don't get a ton of free guitars from. I shouldn't say that. I'm looking at my wall of things over there.
Shouldn't say that, he says, as he has this massive fucking collection. Must be nice being right-handed. That's all I can say.
So I paid for the Mod Shop guitars. There was just like an artist discount on them.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
And same with like the Les Paul was like, I paid for that one, but like there's an artist discount.
That being the case, I feel like I've also fallen down a little bit on my Sweetwater affiliate links. I haven't really considered it, but also like I don't do a shitload of product stuff, And dude, if Sweetwater sold cameras, that'd be the tits. I'd toss that thing on all the time. I can do this mic right here. This mic's a good mic for sure. I would definitely stan it. And like also there's other mics and other videos I've used I could also toss up there as well. But I also need to know who they're dealing with as well. That's the other thing. Did they run with Rode at all? Do you know Sweetwater?
I'm sure they're like the biggest, one of the biggest stores in the U.S. I would suspect that they sell it. I don't know what the relationship is.
When I was looking for in-ear monitor rig gear, there were certain brands that I was looking for that they didn't have, but which is fine. I wound up going with Sennheiser at the end of the day, which was still a better option anyway. Dude, we just built our in-ear rig. This is our first one for this band, and holy shit, it makes a massive difference.
Oh yeah,
huge difference. Like our tightness. Like any of the issues that we were having with tightness, gone completely.
Yeah, I only used them once. And I was like, oh, I can hear everything, and it's not blasting my ears off.
That's the first time I felt like my drummer and I were truly like perfectly in sync the whole time. Yeah. There was no issue.
It's an expensive and costly and complicated thing to set up, kind of. Like, it's a lot easier just to plug in and play, but there's a reason why a lot of people use them.
Oh, for sure.
And they also kind of act as they act as like a protection too.
As long as they're not too loud, yeah.
Well, yeah. If you crank them way up, then yeah.
But yeah, no, they do act as ear protection as well. We don't have the custom Mold'em Johns. We got the cheap Chinese guys that aren't custom molded, but the drivers are great. Like I still get the full spectrum. They got 5 drivers in each one. Yeah, like it's solid for sure. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely expensive, but if you're ready to take that step of like, okay, like this is professional, we need this if we're going to start actually getting on other people's legs of tours or start doing our own tours. Yeah. You need that. That's the only way you're gonna leave with fans, like in my opinion, unless you're doing some
in the description.
What's that?
Are you a Sweetwater affiliate?
I am a Sweetwater affiliate. I guess
yeah.
I'll put all of the affiliate links in the description. Why not? The cool thing about ours as well, since we're using the X32 by Behringer. We can also send our own mix out. So we're going to have our mix pre-dialed in, just send left, right, sub, and then do a quick master EQ to the room to make sure there's no sub standing waves or anything. And then we're good to go. You know,
and does that work like wherever you play, it's compatible with like any sound system?
Yeah. Like so like it would literally just be like sending out 3 XLR cables to the front of house.
I see.
That's all it would be. Like make it super easy for the sound guy, as long as we can actually connect our fucking shit as quickly as possible, which is the other thing. But that's something we're gonna drill. We're gonna be playing a number of different secret shows in order to get those chops up. Not tell anyone.
I'm wondering how sound guys would feel about that, like having like 3, because you're getting left, right, sub is what you're sending out. Like, are the different rooms that might be like, hey, we need way more of this. But the sound guy can't just go. It can be like,
nope, sound guy can't do that. And the sound guy won't do that.
And can you foresee that being an issue? Because it's not like you guys are standing there in the back of this room. And the guy might be like, hey, in this room, you need specific things. I can't do that.
So we have an Android iPad that'll go around my neck. I have a wireless thing for my guitar, so I can literally step out into the front of house and listen and then do adjustments on that iPad while we're doing it. I can mix the whole thing from the iPad.
Sound guys are going to love you or hate you. I'm not sure which one it's going to be.
Yeah, no, it is literally 50-50. There's going to be sound guys that are like, you're the fucking best. Thank you so much. Or other sound guys that are going to be like, I can't believe you've done this. You know?
Yeah. I can't change this. I can't do this. Yeah.
It's like, just put your fingers on the faders, grab a beer, shut the fuck up. You know, that's where I'm at. Just like,
yeah, I'm curious how this goes. Like, I don't know. I'm sure other people have done this.
There's a ton of people who do this. There's a ton of people who do this who are like lower to mid tier. So yeah, like it it's the getting most of the hard work done up front is basically what you're doing.
Cool. I mean, I guess this is a new thing too, like technology wise. You wouldn't have been doing this back in like pre-iPad days, like.
Fuck no, definitely not. You still have a sound guy.
Yeah, those systems became way more affordable over like the last 15 years, I think, too.
Yeah, accurate. Yeah. But I'm thrilled to have it. It's already making a huge difference. We still need to get the front of house stuff dialed in, but that'll happen here in a couple of weeks. Which reminds me, I need to fucking text the boys about that. But yeah, things are in a happy place in Crusade land for sure. Very stoked on that.
Good to hear that the project's moving forward and getting some legs and doing things.
Hell yeah. You've been doing anything in the original music department?
Slowly. It's been very slow. Like I've decided that I'm going to do like a proper album.
Hell yeah.
And it's just, it takes a while. Like, I think we started doing pre-production and maybe it was October. And at this point there was the bass and drums for 3 songs and we're doing another one tomorrow. It's just like, it's slow.
Is it Sammy G or is it Shop Dogs? Which one?
Not Shop Dogs.
Okay.
I think I'll have a different name than Samuraiguitarist. Like it's all part of that thing I was talking about earlier. Like just doing something different. That's maybe just like under a different umbrella that can just be its own thing that exists as a bit of a passion project. Like it'd be great if it like did some things like as far as like building some like playing shows and like doing maybe generating a bit of money, but like if it doesn't, like it's a passion project and I don't have that in my life, and it's about finding that joy in music that's not just kind of doing the same thing that I've done for 8 years. That's no cameras, at least at this point. Like I haven't been filming any of it, haven't been like even like planning like videos around it because I just don't want to do that with this. I don't necessarily want it to be a Samuraiguitarist thing. Like I would just like it to be its own thing that exists over here, and hopefully I can even just like being able to put a month of like shows together for that once a year would be a thing that just breaks up the routine of being in the basement making videos. But yeah, it's just been a slow process, and part of that's me. Part of that's like it was just festival and touring season for a lot of the guys. The producer's been quite busy. Originally, I wanted just to get in a room and like do this in a month and just commit full-time hours to it, but it's not feasible. It just wasn't even close to a feasible thing.
Are you doing vocals with it, or is this going to be a guitar?
It's all instrumental guitar stuff, but like I hate instrumental guitar music. Like I think instrumental guitar music's the worst. I really don't like it. Right? And so I wouldn't have probably done this if like this type of thing if it wasn't for the limitations that I have, and I don't have a vocalist that I wanted to work with, and I wanted just to move forward with something, and that was going to get delayed if I tried to find a vocalist and write songs. So what I consider it is I'm trying to make instrumental. Vocalist.
I know a really awesome vocalist.
I know
producer.
Amazing vocalist too, but you got to find the right one, right? Like you can find a million amazing vocalists, but you got to find the person that you click with and wants to work with you. And it's like, it's an involved process. Trust me, I've been through this.
He would definitely charge without a doubt. He would absolutely charge.
Yeah, is that the guy that I would want to like just get like a session guy, or do you want someone who can like build something together with? And like, I don't know. I don't think that. I just needed to move forward with a project that was its own thing. And so my point is, I'm making guitar instrumental music for people who don't like guitar instrumental music. That was my goal with this. And it's like, if you ever hear the band, like Tycho is one of the guys, Rat-a-Tat. It's like,
Tycho's great. Yeah.
I love him. And it's guitar music kind of, but if a song and never had any guitar in it, like that would be a thing that might happen on this album. It probably won't, but like I'd be fine if there was no guitar on something. And so that's why I also don't want to like present it as a Samuraiguitarist thing, because it's just too much guitar. Like this is just, I want it just to be music. And yeah, it has guitar, but it's music.
Are you getting a proper producer on it who can do proper sound crafting and everything? Word. Okay, good. Yeah, like that's something you're definitely going to need if you want it to be not just another fucking YouTube musician project, and you want it to actually.
No, it's very much like, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not.
Yeah. It's
very much like I'm trying to make the best album that I can make, whatever that looks like. I don't know if like it'll reach my goals at this point, but like so far I've got some like excellent musicians on it, and like I'm putting some money into it, and I got a team, and it's I a lot of these songs I got to the point where I'm like, this is as good as I can get, and now I'm just mostly handing it off to the best guys that I can possibly work with, and I don't know, we'll see how. It's still very early. Like there's three songs that have the drums and the bass done, and that's it.
If you need anything from me at all in any regard, whether it's as simple as a feature, a listen and feedback, or work on anything, just ask. Not an issue. Just ask anything. Man,
I got your number. I got your Discord. I know how to find you. Yeah. When it's closer, when there's more going on, I definitely will pass it off. Probably specifically like with mix related things, but it's still a long ways away. Like I was hoping.
I got plenty of people to nitpick the fuck out of mixes for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. If you want some help with that, yes, without a doubt.
I was hoping, like, originally I was like, I can do this in a year. It might take 2 years. It might take 3 years, but I'm just at the point where it's like, if you get one chance to say, hey, I'm not just this guy on YouTube. If here's this thing that I do, that's not this. You get one chance to say that and present it. And I think for me, it's like, if that comes in a year, 2 years, 3 years, as long as I'm proud of what I've made when that's the case, like that's what I'm going for. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be just a different umbrella. We'll see what it is. I'll tell you one thing. I'm never making an instrumental guitar album again. If I do this again, it's going to have a vocalist. It's so hard to write instrumental music.
I find it pretty fucking easy, actually. It's where I naturally glide to. But I also have a very different music diet and music journey than you have as well. Like, you did go to music school. Where did you go?
I went to a place called Humber it's like the Berkeley of Canada. It kind of offers a similar program.
Word. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's in Toronto. It's, I would say, like the best in Canada for what I wanted to do, which was like kind of a contemporary degree.
So where I went, it was not a contemporary degree. It was a classical style degree. And a big part of that was obviously doing your theory courses, and you're learning all the classical theory and going through a bunch of the greats, but also having to attend a minimum of student recitals every year.
We do that too.
Or sorry, every semester. And that exposed me to a shitload of instrumental music, a fucking shitload that I would not otherwise have wanted to listen to. But it definitely changed my perspective on music a lot, actually.
You know what I find it so hard is like, so I naturally don't write instrumental music. I would naturally write songs with lyrics. And just like, you're able to repeat things with different lyrics. So like, you write a verse and then the next verse has the same melody mostly with just different lyrics to it. And I should also mention, like, the stuff that I'm making is like very much under the pop umbrella. So some of the twists and turns that you might want to do, like, I just don't think really fit. But so like if I'm writing pop music or I'm writing like country music or whatever, you have three sections. You have the verse, and then you have the chorus, and then you have the bridge or pre-chorus or whatever. And that's enough for a song. But I find when I'm writing instrumental music, it's like, okay, well, how do I differentiate this verse from this verse and make it interesting? How do I make it so that a non-guitarist is going to be interested in both these two things when I can't like rely on a lyrical change? Or I've got two choruses. Okay, well, what can I do that's just not sounding like I'm just repeating these things over and over again? Because that's the joy of like writing lyrical music is you just change the lyrics, and like that guides it. And so I find to fulfill that thing in me that says, hey, I enjoy listening to this, because like I said, I don't like instrumental guitar music like at all. To find a way that I enjoy it, I find very challenging to do. And like I don't know if I want to do it again. Depends on what people think of it.
I feel like you'd approach that the same way you'd approach the vocal melody of a different verse, right? You know, you just
I would
think
just
about
like keep the same vocal melody. Like you maybe do like some slight fluctuations on them or something. But for me, like if I'm writing, because I'm also not a singer, so I'm going to write the same vocal melody twice with different lyrics, and then the singer can do whatever they want.
Okay, yeah.
And the other thing, like, I've been trying not to do is write as much music as I can that doesn't have guitar solos in it. And so it's like, okay, how am I making 3 minutes of music that I find interesting that doesn't have a guitar solo in it? Sometimes they do, but I'm trying to find ways of not doing that, having everything work together, and you're not just like straight up repeating parts over and over again without something that moves it forward and is interesting. And like, it's been a challenge, and it's been fun to do it when it goes well, but like, it's a lot easier for me to write vocal stuff, even though I'm not a vocalist.
Interesting.
So I think next time what I'll do, if I do this again, it'll be more like, more of the same thing, but with a vocalist involved. And I also just I would prefer to having a vocalist involved. It's just getting that going was like, okay, that might take me another year to get writing music with someone and write all these songs that have now vocal parts in them. Like, it's going to take a long time. I was ready to go. I had 10 songs that I felt like could be recorded, and getting a vocalist involved would have taken a lot more time. And I just wasn't, just wanted to move forward with this.
Word. Hell yeah. No, I feel
guitar instrumental music for people who don't like guitar instrumental music.
Sounds like the tits to me, man. Sounds beautiful.
We'll see how it turns out.
I'm sure it'll be great. I have no doubts.
Do you like guitar instrumental music?
Do I? Yeah. Usually. I feel like I've somewhat grown out of it because I feel like there's a large portion of it that's just masturbatory, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that a proper virtuoso that's honed in to a beautiful moment captured on recording, but then also focused on composition is like, that's the holy grail, you know? I don't know if you listened to Tender Surrender by Steve Vai.
Yeah, so I think of Steve Vai a lot when I think of instrumental music, and I know that song very well. Like, putting on a Steve Vai album, if I'm being honest, is like sitting there and listening to a Steve Vai album is just like, I can't really imagine things that I would want to do less than that. Like, that sounds terrible to me.
It depends upon which Steve Vai album, in my opinion, because there's some of them I die for in the best way, and then there's other ones I'm just like, holy shit, when is this over? You know? He's my favorite artist.
That's how I feel about guitar music. Like, I have Passion. Was it Passion Warfare? That's a big one in the 80s. Like, and it's a great album. And I respect it, but that's just not what I want to listen to. Like, if I put it on music, like, I'm listening to things that are just very far away from virtuosic kind of stuff. Like, that's just not at all what interests me at this point in my life. And maybe I come back to it, and I got like the ultimate respect. I think Steve Vai is like one of the greatest, best, musicians.
Without a doubt. I'm trying to also make him be a guest on our podcast as well, for the record.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Dude.
And that's the guy. Like, I would love to talk to him, but I don't want to listen to this. I would not want to listen to him, and I really don't want to go to one of his concerts. Like, that would be just. I went to a Holdsworth concert once.
I went to a Vi concert. It was fucking great. It was beautiful. Even my parents attended, and my dad fell asleep during Steve Vai.
Yeah, that's me. My dad would do the same thing.
We walked out of there and we all had tinnitus afterwards. It was that loud. And somehow he was asleep through like half the show. It was fucking amazing.
I feel like that's what I would do. Like, it's just so uninteresting to me. I appreciate it, but like, I don't know. I'm at the point in my life where like, if I'm doing something that's not related to work or my kids, like, I got to make sure I'm enjoying it. And that's one of the things that's changed for me is like, I became hyper focused on what I enjoy, and I stopped trying to force myself to enjoy and take in all these things. I spent a lot of time doing that. And I think it's important to do, to try to figure out like new things and surround yourself with different things. But like, I've done that a lot, and I've spent my hours doing that, and I know what I like. And yeah, Tender Surrender is actually like the one Steve Vai song. Like, if I'm going to listen to the song, I'm going to listen to that one. That one's amazing.
I feel like it's undeniable, right? You know, it's that moment. It's that moment captured.
Specifically the G3 one that they did. And also, like, I used to love Eric Johnson. Would never put him on. Never would do it. I just have no interest.
I can't with Eric. Yeah, I can't with Eric Johnson. I've tried, And it's like, he's obviously talented. I don't particularly find his songwriting that engaging. At least, excuse me, on the Steve Vai front, I would argue he's a brilliant composer, but he's not everyone's thing for multiple reasons, not least of which is the fact that he fucking tutored under Zappa for a bunch of years. So he has that entire weirdness just baked into what he does, right? You know, but yeah, like comparing Steve Vai's composition level to like a Joe Satriani, to where it's like, it's not bad composition, it's just extremely digestible, or like Eric Johnson, where it's just like so subdued, you know, like very drawn back.
And I've got albums by those guys and I've spent time listening to them, and it's just like what the other day, and this is going to sound like it's ridiculous, but like I discovered Dead Mouse. I've never listened to Dead Mouse before. And I heard a song by him. I was like, I love this. I love listening to this.
He's a fabulous producer. Fabulous producer.
And like Odessa was another band, like kind of EDM stuff. That's like that's, dude, if I'm putting on something, I'm going to enjoy that.
You need to check out BT. You need to check out BT.
Okay, well, 100%. Because like that's what excites me. Or like I listened to Jack White's new album the other day. I was like, this is cool. I enjoy listening to this. Listening to somebody just shred is not it for me.
Explain to me, why do you like Jack White? Please explain it to me. I've yet to figure out a reason to care about Jack White, and it seems like everyone does.
I wouldn't say that I like him. Like I never listened to White Stripes, and I never like listened to his stuff before. But there was a song on the radio, because mostly I listen to the radio because my car doesn't have Bluetooth, and I don't have a Spotify account.
YouTuber listens to radio.
Yeah, and CDs.
That's huge.
Because my car doesn't have Bluetooth and the aux input doesn't work, so I just listen to the radio. So anyway, I heard a song on the radio. I'm like, hey, this is cool. I wonder who it is. And it sounds like it might be Jack White. And it was his new album. And so then I just was like, I was cleaning up the studio one day, so I just put it on. I was like, hey, this is cool. I like it. I don't know. That's it.
All right.
There were some cool effects, and it's like based on the music that I think like I'm deeply rooted in, like a bluesy, rocky type of thing, but I also don't have a ton of interest in like listening to a lot of blues rock bands or stuff anymore. Because I spent a lot of time listening to that sort of stuff, and if I'm going to listen to that sort of stuff,
that's your fucking wheelhouse. Yeah, that's your home.
Like I'll put on a Stevie Ray Vaughan album and be very happy doing that, but I'm not seeking out the next Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like if I want to find something like that that's good, I know where to find it, and I have like a nostalgic attachment to that, so like that adds to it. So like if someone were like, "Hey, you got to check out this guy. He's like the next Stevie Ray Vaughan." Like no, I'm not going there. I got no interest in that. But if there was somebody who was like doing a guitar solo on an Odessa track, then I'd be like, oh, hey, I love that.
Yeah.
But it's the more the compositional thing, and the more the general soundscape, and being interested by him, like, hey, whoa, this is cool. And when I heard the Jack White album, there were elements of that, and I don't know if it was like certain synths he was using. It certainly wasn't like he was like rewriting the songwriting book or anything, but there was like some synths that he was bringing into this kind of bluesy, rocky type of thing that I was like, hey, I enjoy this. And I can't comment beyond that.
His mixing and production are good, without a doubt. Like the guy knows how to craft a proper soundscape. I don't hate Jack White. I hate being told that I'm supposed to love Jack White. You know what I mean? Like he gets worshipped. At least he used to a lot more back in the day. He got worshipped a shitload, and I feel like it was just too much, for lack of a better term. You know? Yeah.
See, I think I missed that. Like I don't really remember anyone being. I remember it being around, but never being exposed to that. Like I remember seeing him on the guitar magazines and stuff, but like I've never listened to a White Stripes album or like a Jack White album before I did the other day. And I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Have you ever seen my video, Jack White is a Genius?
No, I don't watch guitar YouTube videos.
Okay, that's fair. But what is it? Seven Nation Army, but every instrument proclaims Jack White's genius. And I'm just doing every instrument a cappella, saying the word genius the entire time.
I will say, I think that riff is like one of the greatest riffs ever written.
That's so no.
I'll tell you why I think that.
How?
Well,
okay.
Find me how many riffs can you find where it's sung by thousands of people in random events? People will break into that and just start singing it. Like that says something about the nature of that, or like the power of that. Like if you can go to a soccer or football game and you got 30,000, 70,000 people chanting that riff, like that's you won't find that for any other song. That's something about that.
He cannot have been the first person to write that, though.
Well, if he ripped it off,
so obviously scalar and Aeolian, like that, it's too obvious for me to be like, oh, it's genius. You know, like I guarantee someone has written that before. They just didn't use it the same way that he did. Maybe that arguably is like what makes it so great is the fact that he took it as this repetitive fucking what do you call it? Like he made it like a theme, but also he made it a meditation. You know, it was kind of both. So I can see that, but like it's such a fucking obvious melody.
But that's like also saying Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. Yeah, it's obvious, but like it's obvious because we hear it. It's obvious because you know that. Oh yeah, it's that one.
I feel like there's more elegance to Satisfaction. As much as I could shit on it if I wanted to. I feel like there's more elegance to it.
It's 3 notes. That's it. But like,
I'm talking about even like the whole like the I can't get no.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm talking about just the riff. I'm talking about guitar riff, like that one part.
Oh, the guitar riff. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's a dumbass guitar riff, but it works. Yeah.
I think the whole song is like, if it comes on the radio, I'm not changing the station. So that's my like gauge of like how much I like a thing.
That's fair.
But I also didn't grow up being bombarded with that song. So when I say like that specific,
I wouldn't turn Satisfaction off. Like it's a good song.
Me neither. But that riff, and I'm not a Jack White fan, but I think like if you can get something that resonates in the way that riff does. It doesn't matter if it's simple. It doesn't matter if it's one single note. Like you've tapped into something special there. And I think like there's not a lot of things that are able to do that. Like I'm trying to think of ones that like what
Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, I think is one of those riffs. Just the octave.
Yeah.
It gives you that galloping feeling to it.
But that still doesn't transcend the record. Like that's the Led Zeppelin record. Like I think there's a lot of people out there who only know of Seven Nation Army as the song that they sing at football games. Like it's become so much bigger than just that one song.
Okay, that's a good argument. Okay.
Another one that I can think of that has that kind of power is like the ole 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 ole. Like the way that people sing that, and just like there's something special about that it can be sung by all these people and everybody instantly knows it and can join in and just like feel something when they're singing that. I don't know. There's something about that I think is inherent greatness. And I can't think of a lot of guitar riffs that are able to do that. I'm sure there's other ones, but that one stands out to me. If you can write a riff so good that you can imagine thousands and thousands of people, whether they are musically trained or have never heard a song in their life, they can sing along to it. There's something about it that's great. It might be annoying, and you might not like it, but there's something valuable about it. There's something incredible about it. Like there's something incredible about Baby Shark.
I don't know why. There's a very strong argument there. I would agree. Yeah, there is something to Baby Shark. I hate to admit it, but there really is.
I hate that song deeply. But for something to be so earwormy, like my 2-year-old loves that song. And I don't know what it is about that specific one, but he just like, and every time I hear it, like I tell people don't play it because it's going to be stuck in my head all day. There's something about that. And if you try to do that, I always encourage people when people like are like shitting on country music, mainstream country music, which I don't particularly like at all, I should mention. But when people shit on it or people are talking about like pop music, and saying like it's garbage, it's like, okay, hang on. Maybe you don't like it, but go and try and write something that everybody who hears it will understand, but also doesn't sound like a cliche of the last thing, or like, you know, a complete ripoff. Because it's
You're saying
really hard to do that.
something legendary is what you mean.
I would say, like, when people like talk about like mainstream country music, like, oh, I could write this in a second. It's like, okay, no, go and do it and show me what you come up with.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you can't.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. Yeah, I mean, most of those mainstream country songs are also a team of writers. It's not just a guy. Yeah. You know,
and they're crafted to be a specific thing. And I guess my point is that it's not just like a brain dead guy who goes into his room and writes a song about a truck. No. This is crafted to be exactly what it is. And maybe you don't like it. Fair. I don't like it either for the most part. But
I would argue a lot of it is not good for society. So there's that. Yeah,
that's a very fair argument too. But I think my issue is when people say it doesn't require skill to do this. It's like, no, go try and do it and you'll see how wrong you are. And people say the same thing about pop music. And again, it's like, go and try to write a song and go take it to get critiqued by people who would like be the gatekeepers of this industry, labels, publishers, supervisors, whatever. And you will see how far off you actually are.
I mean, like you can do that, or even, you know, if you got the balls, if you really got the sack, go take it to the actual gatekeepers, the people that are going to consume it, and see how much they actually give a shit about it. Yeah. Random people who don't give a fuck about you from Adam. Are they going to dance to this? Are they going to drink to this? Are they going to be reminded of the good times they had to this song? Are they going to want to sing along with it? Did you hear about the AI rapper that got canned from them? Did you hear about that?
I heard about it. I don't really know much about it because he started dropping the N-bomb.
Okay, but it was a black man performing it, and it was written by, I guess, it was written by AI, but with a team of people that were all like mixed different races and shit.
That's a weird thing too, because like, can your computer be racist? I don't know.
That's a damn good question.
Yeah, your computer, or like there was a Twitter account years ago that was like using AI to like
it was a Microsoft AI, yes,
and it just turned into like just spouting off Nazi propaganda, and they had to shut it down.
Which is hilarious because it's not that it's naturally going to do that. It's that people knew that this existed, so they were fucking with it. It's hilarious as fuck. They intentionally turned it into a racist for the lulz. And even still, is it really a racist? Is it bigoted, or is it just garbage in, garbage out? Because it's a machine, you know.
If you could come up with, or say you heard like the best song you ever heard, undeniably, like just hypothetical situation, best song you ever heard, you're like, I love this. This is perfect. Wouldn't change a thing about it. And you found out that everything had been done by an algorithm. The recording, the vocals, it was all deep faked and had been written by everything. Yeah. Would that matter to you?
It would matter to me, but I don't know that it would necessarily make me value it less, if that makes any sense. Like it's significant whether or not it's done by a machine or it's done by a human being.
Okay,
I don't.
Maybe here's the bottom of the question, because now we're. Okay, so what if all music, and it's just all music got better so objectively better in your opinion, all got better, but everything was now done by algorithms. How would you feel about such a thing?
So it's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go with that.
And you're talking about my subjective opinion of what objectively better music would be.
Yeah, I feel like music's now better because of this.
And then like people's lives are improved because of it and all that shit.
Well, I guess like they're improved because people enjoy it more and like, or enjoy it.
So I've been reading this book that I've been shilling the fuck out of without being paid a damn penny. But it's Perlovsky's Music, Passion, and Cognitive Function. And there are like psychological and social benefits and well-being that come from music that are ancient, that for lack of a better term. I'm not going to dive into everything because there's like a shitload of detail and we don't want to derail it too much. But like, I'm imagining, okay, there's an AI or an algorithm that figures out how to properly serve human beings in that way better than human beings do, which I can't fathom, but it's not impossible.
But that's besides the point. Like the technology, it's the thought experiment. It's like, let's imagine it happened.
At that point, I would want to say it's a net benefit for society. I don't think it precludes that people couldn't make their own music. And there'd be like two different kinds of music. There would be people who it's like people made music, and then it's like the good shit. You know what I mean? Like
all the people made stuff. Now it feeds into that algorithm, and now the people made stuff. That stuff, whatever they're making, it's got another algorithm, and it does that better too. So like across the board, it's all just better when it's not people made. So we're eliminating people musicians. People can still try to do it, but whatever you do, it's now going into the algorithm and it's going to spit out something better.
The only way I would say it's absolutely, for lack of a better term, evil or detrimental is if you stop real people from making music. That's the only way I would say so. It probably would. I don't think it would, and I don't think it should. I think it is such a fundamental part of the human experience to be fascinated with acoustic vibrations. I think that is a fundamental part of who we are. It comes from the voice, but then translates to something as simple as just tapping on a table. Or
so maybe they would stop and they would lose any commercial possibility doing it.
Okay,
and maybe that's a good thing.
It could be. It very well could be. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I have it already such a closely tied association to it being, quote unquote, an authentic human expression, that if you had something that is not an authentic human expression that actually does a better job of psychologically and culturally compensating, I don't know. I couldn't picture it ever fully being the case.
Yeah.
But in a thought experiment, I guess my initial response would be it's good, but I just don't know that I might be throwing out some baby with that bathwater, for lack of a better term. It's a really interesting thought, though. You know, a really, really good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
How would you feel about it?
I don't really know. It's just, it's like you're trying to imagine something that you can't conceptualize. Like I just can't possibly imagine that that could be the case. Like it's just such a far-fetched idea, but it's kind of like, to me, gets down to that idea of like, does real matter or not? And that's a hard question to answer. Like if you could just like
or even just asking the question, is it real? You know,
well, what is real?
Yeah.
But it's like that whole thing. Like, say you could take a pill that had no side effects and it just made you happy. And there's people have talked about this for ages. If you could just take that pill, no side effects, everything's better for you and you're just happy. But the difference is like, you're kind of only happy. It's not like an antidepressant or something. Like this imaginary pill is like, I know what you take it and you just like go comatose. And everything is perfect. No side effects. You can come out of it whenever you want, and your life would be normal. Is that something you take? It's like the Matrix. Do you go down there? And some people would be like, that doesn't matter if it's real. And then when you start going down that path, you're like, wait, is it even real? It's like, it goes into that whole thing. If you're like, now I'm moving this discussion forward in a weird way, but like, if we're in a simulation, does it even matter?
That's a damn good question.
And it's like, I think about this sometimes. I'm like, well, it's all that we're ever going to have. So like, no, assuming it's not just me alone in the simulation, like as long as like other people actually are conscious with, which can never actually be truly sure of. But if we assume that they are, then like, does it even matter that this is a simulation? Not really. Doesn't matter if it's real. What is real? Feels real. And so then it's like, go back to the music thing. Like,
we don't have any other standards or metrics by which to measure real other than our own experiences. Yeah, without a doubt. And then bringing it back to the music thing.
But if somebody came to you and was like, we've proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't know how they would do it, but it's like, yeah, it's a simulation. We're living in a simulation. A lot of people would be like, God, this is terrible. But then it's also like, why does it matter? What does it matter? What changes? You can't get out of it. You can't stop it. And they're not going to just shut it off one day. Does it matter?
And you don't know if death ends the simulation or not. You know, you have no idea. You have no clue.
I listened to a podcast a couple of years ago that made me kind of rethink a lot of these things. It's called The End of the World with Josh Clark, and he's part of the duo that does Stuff You Should Know, which is one of the bigger podcasts out there, and they just talk about random stuff. They literally pick a thing, and two guys just discuss it as much as they can and try to educate people about it as much as they can. But then he went off and did a podcast on the end of the world, which was basically like, here are these existential crises that can happen and all these sort of things that can affect humanity and humankind. And it wasn't just talking about those. It was like talking about why does this matter? What are the deeper implications of this philosophically? And one of the things he did was talk about the simulation, and I don't know, it's just a thing that I've thought about.
It's brilliant. What was the name of the podcast again?
The End of the World with Josh Clark.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds fun.
But also
sounds awesome.
Changed my thought process, not necessarily for the better.
There's always a white pill. There's always a white pill to take, my friend. I promise you. There always is.
Yeah.
Optimism, hope, and faith are an incredibly crucial part of the human existence that I feel like does not get enough attention.
Yeah.
We live in a very cynical, nihilist society, and that's part of the thing I want to be somewhat of an antidote towards. I don't know how to do it exactly yet, but I'm hoping this podcast does some of that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, when earlier you asked me how kids change things, and that was maybe a thing that I tried to be more upright and look at the positive side, for their sake, because it doesn't help their situation if I'm all depressed about whatever and just talking about the downsides of everything, just being a total pessimist. But trying to look at the good side for their sake, so that they can have a light in their life, walk around the world with a light versus a dark. Because you can be aware of the bad things, but if you have a light within you, then you can try to shine that in those areas. Where if you're aware of the dark and you got dark inside you, you just add into the cloud.
That is
philosophy
beautiful.
With Sammy G 101.
I love it. I love it, man. That's actually a very beautiful way of and I don't mean this condescendingly, of simply looking at things. You know what I mean? Sometimes the simplicity of the metaphor makes it that much easier to communicate and is way more useful, which is better, Man,
I'm the people. I like it when people understand me. I've gravitated to that kind of art myself too. Things that I can understand, I enjoy a lot more than things I have to really try to analyze and interpret. I'm at the point where I like looking at a picture and saying, I know exactly what this picture is. Abstract art isn't my jam right now.
I'm in between. I'm in between on that. It depends. Really quick, since we're talking about trying to interpret art and things, do you think that an AI that was fed a bunch of rap music by rap artists that starts dropping N-bombs is racist? Do you think that is racist? If you don't have an answer, that's also fine. But I'm curious. Very curious.
I think it depends on how you... To me, I would define racism as humans discriminating against other humans based on race. So
I would even go further and say bigoted beliefs against other people of other races.
Yeah, sure.
That's okay.
I think if an AI is doing that, then it's a bigger reflection of society, because AI is reading what we put into it. And if the AI is reading a bunch of it's reading like comments on the internet and like analyzing rap songs and analyzing whatever, and that's how it's creating that. If it churns out something racist, it's not the fault of the computer. Like a computer can't do anything. Like it doesn't have unless it's like got to the point of having consciousness itself, and that's a whole other conversation.
It definitely does not right now. Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, well, it can't be. It's just a computer. In the same way, like an ant can't be racist. It's just doing whatever it does. But if you or a dog can't be racist. It's doing what it's taught to do. And if the humans have fed it this information that makes it do racist stuff, then hey, that's a reflection on something bigger. So I would say no. Yeah. I don't think an algorithm can be racist, but I think what you feed into it and the people who feed into it and what we put into this, if it turns into something that's bad, it's a reflection of what we put into it. And so what I'm saying is re-sign that AI rapper. Uncancel him. He didn't deserve it.
I mean, I think that it's a good thing that the AI rapper got canceled just because it's just putting more junk into the world. Like, it was truly abysmal as far as trying to measure it on any artistic scale. It was definitely garbage. It was absolute trash. It's like all of those like shitty clout chasing trap rappers. It was just that, but written by an algorithm. Almost like it takes zero talent and is extremely predictable. You know?
Yeah, it's writing bad country music, basically.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You can think about it that way. Like taking distilling cliches and just shitting it out. That's basically what
it's gonna be terrible. And so that's like when we were talking. You were recording? We were talking about AI music.
When we were just talking about it, like 5
before,
minutes early.
It's like 20 minutes ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's also why I think like AI music can never really be a thing, is because what's interesting is not. Well, it's hard to say. You can predict things about the predictions, and like you can get I think there's the ability to get very, very advanced with AI, but as it stands right now, all you can ever do is create something, like feed it a bunch of things and then create something that's like that. And I think what makes a lot of music interesting is when you got the outlier who like is maybe influenced by this, but like does something completely unique and weird and cool with it. That's like, you took that and you did something different. And then everyone else who follows that is going to do that same thing. And it's like, as it gets distilled down from that, whoever that is, Jimi Hendrix comes along and then that's incredible. But then everybody who tries to be Hendrix gets a little bit less interesting as time goes on. And then another guitarist comes by.
I think if it's ever possible that the AI that would create that music, one, would have to understand human emotion, and two, would have to have a physical body of some sort in order to know how to interpret and interact with the world. That's one of the big problems with, as they've progressed AI intelligence and capability, the more that they want it to act more like a human being, the more it just kind of goes insane because it doesn't have a physical embodiment to engage with the world with. Yeah, like there was some crazy shit. I mean, obviously, because we're also modeling this intelligence after our own intelligence, because we're the highest intelligence that we know. So, I mean, it would make perfect sense that as we learn more about our own brains, we're designing it as if it were a human being, you know?
Yeah, and if you could recreate that, like simulate consciousness and like reach, what's it called, the singularity.
Yeah.
Then if you get to that point and beyond, where you have AI that's smarter or like more creative and like can read all of the, can take like, because what we're doing, in my opinion, like a lot of us artists, we've taken in all of our surroundings, whether those be musical, whether they be like your life events, and then you're distilling that down and turning your experiences into an art form. And that's what music is. And sometimes some people have like really just different experiences and all those things. They take a lot of different types of music, and they have maybe a weird childhood and a weird event. And that's when they go to make music, they connect with another musician who has the perfect, it's the Lennon and the McCartney thing. They connect, and then together they're able to make something that's bigger than them. And so my point is that what we're doing is we're essentially like being fed a bunch of information and turning it into art. But if you get AI,
you just gave me a thought. What if AI had the capability to collaborate with other AI that were given different information?
well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like, say if you have an AI that takes in millions of people's experiences and millions of more music than I could ever listen to, and is able to analyze the way that humans, the reason why we are the way we are. Like it's at a whole other level than anything we could ever imagine. Like imagine it's so good at understanding things that it can predict your next move, because it's analyzed you and your entire history and it's gone into your brain and figures out, oh, he's going to go and eat a sausage today because this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. And so it's able to do that, but it's able to then take that collective experience of everybody and then churn out music based on that. It's like, okay, then how can anyone ever compete with that?
I don't know that you could. And on the flip side, yeah, okay, it's tough to say if it's possible, but at the same time, something so perfectly imperfect, I guess, is the word I would have to choose. Because I mean, you'd want to simulate some level of humanity, right?
But like that's the point. It's like it's doing that too. It's not just it's not making something perfect. It's analyzing this. Oh, this song is so great and people love this because there's that weird guitar note that makes people feel something towards it. So it adds elements of that, and like it's so beyond.
There's that exact perfect way in which that note was played. You know, like that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, the voice track, or it's out of tune, and that's what makes it interesting. So I wouldn't say that it can't be done where AI can't make music, but it's just so far away. Any sort of AI stuff that I've messed around with has been so bad.
For something to completely replace human music, I would say bare ass minimum. We are a millennia away from that. Like a bare
I don't
ass.
think so. I mean, who knows? My opinion on a lot of things is we might take a bunch of steps backwards before we go a lot forwards. We're very used to this because our generation, our parents' generation, and to an extent our grandparents' generation all like saw things move forward. Whereas like normal human, like and this isn't always the case, like outside of the Western world or whatever you want to call it, but like you just kind of stay the same for most people. Like you didn't see a lot of technological advancements or like quality of life benefiting. Like a guy born in 1200 and then his ancestors born in 1400 probably has a similar life expectancy, probably is working in similar conditions. But a guy born in 1900 versus a guy born in 2000, that 100 years
technological.
Crazy. And us and our parents, and I think our grandparents just expect things to keep doing that. And I think that's very unlike the human experience thus far. So I wouldn't be surprised if before we reach those crazy milestones or those crazy things, we go way back, have a little bit of a reset and be like, oh man, we got to learn from that one. Things got bad, but now we're getting better again.
I hate the concept out there called like the Great Reset, which is like all these fucking business and political overlords trying to like there are people trying to do that. Whether or not they're actually successful at it is another thing completely. I hate the idea that there's people out there trying to force that. At the same time, I think that humanity's, for lack of a better term, prosperity and technological advancement is far outpacing our collective wisdom. And we do need to take a moment to understand where the fuck we came from and what we need as animals, not just as
trying
to elevate ourselves to artificial godhood. You know, I think
it's so true. And especially when that technological stuff like now starts applying to weaponry, because like what would be crazier is we make incredibly powerful weapons, which like has happened. And what's more unlikely is you make these weapons and they never get used or they do get used. Like those are the two options. They're either never going to get used or they are going to get used. And historically they get used. If you never ever use them, like
eventually, Yeah, eventually.
And so then what happens when you like are making things that are more and more powerful? Like that's when I'm, scary thought. And I read a book by Dan Carlin, who's another podcast guy.
Dan Carlin's great, man. Hell yeah.
His book it was related to the end of the world. I can't remember what it was. I don't know why people keep on recommending me this stuff. Maybe they have that's the aura I put into the world. But yeah, his book was about like nuclear weapons basically, and he was like, yeah, what's more likely is these weapons get used or they don't get used ever. And if they get used, then we're going to take a major step back. Or they do get used, and
I think it's more likely that they get used, definitely. Just because they exist, and if they don't get used, it's not like they suddenly disappear. You know, you have to take active steps to make them disappear, and they are also there as essentially bargaining chips, basically. Really fucking dangerous, very large, very valuable bargaining chips. Having said that, just because they get used doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't the chance to create a proper defense in order to mitigate what could be catastrophic damage.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I mean,
but if you have that and you're not sending one right back, you're lobbing one back. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's that too. Like, and that's also one of the reasons why, at the end of the day, I would say more countries with more nukes, because that's essentially what happens. Is if someone launches one, they all go, and then it's all over. And unless you are just like the crudest of nihilists, where you just want it all to end, then that's something you don't want to do. Humans are self-interested enough to know that's a horrible decision.
Are we just banking on the fact that from now on, there's never going to be the crazy ruler, like the crazy king who rises up, and whoever, it doesn't matter where. If everyone has one, are we just banking on the fact that we're never going to get the crazy king, whatever?
So it does matter where. We have fucking the whole Kim Jong-un situation, but Kim Jong-un operates at the privilege of Xi Jinping in China. So not getting too geopolitical on it, not getting too far into that, but would he send a nuke if he was just doing his own thing? Yeah, but he also has to answer to someone whether he likes it or not. So that's part of what keeps him in line. It's like, you send that nuke, we will fuck you. So China will fuck you.
I'm sure historians have discussed this, and I'm not like in that world, and I'm sure it's been discussed. But
and also just to say to everyone, I don't consider myself an expert on this. Sammy G does not consider himself an expert on this. So we're spitballing. So the question I would have is like, World War II, Hitler's in that bunker. Does he press that button before he pulls the trigger? You're talking about the nuke button?
Yeah, like he's like, I'm done. Yeah. Is he pressing?
That's a damn good question.
Are you banking on the fact that you'll never have one of those situations again, where someone, like, by all accounts, like, that could happen again? Because we're not talking about like 30, 20 years. I'm talking about like, as long as these things exist, we're talking about from now until
several millennia. Yeah, several millennia.
Is that never going to happen?
And there will be worse weapons than nukes. There will be.
Yeah, and there will be probably people, when you have this many people, there's going to be a guy who manages to rise up, who is just going to like stop caring at one point and just hit the, rage quit.
It is potentially possible. I would agree. I think it's highly unlikely in most people's lifetimes, but I would say it's probably likely in human history, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean?
And it would also be nice to like, okay, well, we've got a couple worlds now. Like, we've colonized Mars, and we've got these people floating in the spaceship. So if these crazy people blow that one up, it's not the end of this human experiment. That would be nice. And that's one of the reasons I like space travel.
Fuck yeah. No, I'm very pro space travel too. Hopefully more exploratory and understanding than before us just deciding to go fucking America space and just colonize everything, Like I would say that's been humanity's greatest flaw, is deciding this is ours now before actually learning and understanding more about what the fuck's happening in this place they're deciding to live, you know?
Yeah, I'd like to see that in my life. That would be a thing that if that happened in my life where like we got people colonizing on Mars, I'd be like, I have a lot of optimism about the future.
Yeah.
And when I say future, I mean like long-term survival of the species type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because then you're like, okay, if we really screw up this one planet, at least we got a couple backup options. Or if we really take a huge step backwards, hey, the hard drive's over on Mars too. We got a hard drive. We got a backup. All music hasn't been lost.
that's the most important thing. Can't lose the music.
That's one of the things I thought about. It's like when I was listening to that Josh Clark podcast, I was like, if the world did end, man, you just lose a lot of like music that just never could ever exist. Even if there are aliens out there, it's gone. Sure, there's the Voyager or the whatever it's called, the one that has like
I know
stuff
what you mean,
on it, not a lot. And it's like that's actually like a really sad thought to think that those incredible things just now will never ever exist again. Because certain things you can recreate. If you blow the world into oblivion and it heals itself, and there's a handful of people left, they're going to recreate a lot of like. They'll eventually stumble upon the same concepts as far as like science goes and like physics and biology. Like they'll get that same understanding again. But even if you start making music again, you're never going to make those same things again. It doesn't have the same linear progression of I discovered this, now I discovered this, now I discovered this. Like you'll never get there again.
There's two different things I would address on that point. One, you're not talking about an extinction level event. You're talking about like most of humanity's wiped out, most of the technology, history, documentation's lost. Is that it?
Yeah, that or like it is an extinction in aliens land, or there's aliens somewhere else and they come.
Fuck the aliens. I don't give a fuck about them. Music is for humans. Human music is for humans. That I am very confident in saying that. It is a necessary. It is a necessary evolutionary tool in order for us to function at this high of a knowledge acquisition level. There's a whole fucking psychological thing involved with that. Again, that book I was telling you about. But then two is even if it wasn't pure extinction level, but it was like Fallout level, where we lost most of the history, most of the documentation, most of the technology. I still think. I kind of lean towards the Steve Vai thing where never be afraid of running out of new ideas. There's always new bits of inspiration to pick out of the ether. That's something that comforts me and gives me hope. And I think that every other human being is going to be the same thing. You know, it's going to be different and it's going to be sucky that we lost all that stuff. But as timeless and beautiful as all that stuff is, it's not everything, you know?
I have a tough time imagining a time in history when you can't put this one on. But I also like that idea of like, hey, maybe it's time to just like let that go and find what's next.
I mean, it doesn't need to be. I have a huge admiration for culture and history and passed down wisdom. But at the same time, I mean, it's humans will human. Humans will continue to human, both the good and the bad. And it's not necessary. It's just what we know, you know, for lack of a better term.
I think that is a great way to conclude our podcast because I need to go make dinner for my family.
Fuck yeah, dude. Sammy, thank you so much for joining. You killed my man.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Mike. Glad we got to do this. And if you want to do it again, just let me know.
Fuck yeah, dude. I would love to have you back on.